he should be dead. He should have died right there at the scene.
Phoenix police officer Jason Schechterle's Ford Crown Victoria patrol car was rear-ended by a taxi and burst into flames.
Give me a first alarm medical. Police car involved. Report copy, 30-year-old male, priority 1, Wood, Clarence County.
People do not survive when their entire head and upper body is engulfed in flame and smoke. It's just physiologically impossible.
His patrol car exploded into a ball of fire, yet somehow he survived.
You know, I got that phone call, got in my car and raced down to the hospital, and when I saw him, I really couldn't even believe what I was looking at. He just had this charred black head. So I took my knuckle right here and I hit his forehead, and it felt like I was hitting this concrete floor. I mean, he's burned through all the layers of the skin, through the fat, through the muscle, down to the bone. And by the grace of God, not only is he alive, he's probably going to live through it, and then what is he going to be left with? A guy or a gal who gives back, not asking for anything, just wants to continuously improve everyone's situation. That, to me, is the definition of a hero.
Thank you, first of all, for not playing any music and making me dance. That is not something you want to see. I landed at Love Field a couple nights ago, really late, about 11:30, and I don't do ride sharing or transportation like that too often. And apparently you never know what you're going to get when you call for an Uber at about 11:30 at night. And my driver got there, and he's loading my bag, and I can tell that he's kind of looking at me a little awkward, and we get in the car, and he turned, he said, "Sir, do you mind if I ask, were you in the military, or how did you get those burns?" And as I'm buckling my seatbelt, I said, "No, man, I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. And after one summer there, everybody looks just like Anytime you are faced with adversity, if you can find a way to laugh, especially laugh at yourself, it's pretty amazing the strength that you can draw from that. I'm honored to be here speaking to this group. It means so much to me for a couple of reasons. Number one, you're going to get a chance to see just one example of the importance of the work you do and how you can affect countless lives in a positive way. But also, as we go through this story, it's my hope that you will think about what you're going through right now. Every one of you in here is facing a battle that the person next to you knows nothing about. As human beings, we lay down at night, close our eyes, and you're alone with your thoughts. We don't think about how great and wonderful life is, that we just have everything we want and the people we love, everything's perfect. That's not how we're made. We're thinking about challenges we're facing and mountains we're trying to climb and all the adversity in our life. But when you wake up the next morning, the most inherent desire that we have as human beings is we want to be inspired. Something move me, something make me feel good. And it doesn't take much. It could be your favorite song comes on the radio, you see a friendly face you haven't seen in a while, maybe your favorite sports team wins a game. It does not take much to feel good. And whenever you're going through your adversity, you have to find those things and you have to move toward them. So as you go through this journey with me, and you see some of the tools that I've used to overcome my adversity, I hope you stay in touch with yourself and think about what you're going through today as a person and how you can overcome that as well. I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. These are all pictures of me. When I look at this slide, all I can think about is I was not born to do this. Never once did I think, when I grow up, I'm going to stand in front of a group of people and share a pretty unique story. I had what I consider one of those storybook childhoods, great parents, older brother and sister, went to good schools, played sports, just wouldn't change anything about my upbringing. When I was 16 years old, my older brother Michael became a Phoenix police officer. And I went on ride-alongs with him, I hung out with his friends, and even at that young age, I thought, that looks like a pretty good job. Why not do that when I grow up? So I graduated from high school. I was pretty good at golf at the time. I got a college scholarship. And about 6 months into my freshman year, I decided to drastically change directions in life. And I wanted to follow in the footsteps of the rest of the men in my family and serve in the military. So I joined the United States Air Force. And the Air Force has a great sense of humor. They said, here's this young man from Phoenix, Arizona. So let's send him to Grand Forks, North Dakota. I don't know how many of you have been to North Dakota, but I promise you, it's the coldest place in the United States. I spent 2 glorious winters there. I spent a year in Korea. I spent some time, 6 months at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba for the 1994 Haitian refugee crisis. I came home, 22 years old, and I just didn't feel like I was quite mature enough or ready to become a police officer. Life has a very quick way of changing on us. I met and married my beautiful wife, Susie. We had a daughter and a son. And I got a job with Arizona Public Service, one of the 2 main power companies in the valley where I live. I started at the Palo Verde nuclear plant, and then I got an apprenticeship to be a lineman. And linemen are the guys that work on the overhead and underground power lines. It's a great job. You're outside every day, different locations. You make a really good salary. It's what I thought I would do for the rest of my career. On March 26th, 1999, I came home from work, turned on the 5 o'clock news, and the lead story, Phoenix police officer Mark Atkinson had just been shot and killed in the line of duty. It was a real moment of clarity for me. I knew right then that I had to be wearing that uniform and doing that job. So I went the very next day, filled out an application for the city of Phoenix. It took about 3 months to get through the grueling hiring process, but I was hired. I started the academy in September of 1999. It was the first graduating class of 2000. This is a picture of me the day that I graduated from the police academy. I was assigned to Central City Precinct, which is exactly what the name implies. It's right in the heart of downtown Phoenix. Of course, being a new officer, being a rookie, I'm working the overnight shift, I'm working weekends, and I absolutely love this job. I mean, all the things that I had dreamed about, all the romantic things you see on TV, answering people's emergency calls, taking bad guys to jail. It was as cool as I thought it would be. So I am 28 years old at the time. Got off probation, switched squads so I could be partners with my best friend. Wife and 2 kids, healthy and happy. My parents, healthy and still married. All 4 of my grandparents were alive and still married. 28 years on this earth, and I have never gone through any type of adversity other than maybe breaking a couple bones playing sports. I was the least prepared person for what I was about to face, but that's how life is. Life does not tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, in about 4 hours, here's what's coming. You better get ready. You have no idea from when or where your set of circumstances is going to drastically change. And I know that all of you in here deal with other people's adversity along with your own, so you are well aware of what I'm talking about. For me, it was on March 26th of 2001. Oh, sorry. There we go. If you're paying attention, that was 2 years to the day after Mark Atkinson was killed, on his anniversary. Went to work that day at 3 in the afternoon. I was supposed to work until 1 o'clock in the morning. It was a very quiet, very routine day. It was a Monday. I still remember every single thing that I did. I went on a couple of paper report calls, took a couple of minor car accident calls. Just wasn't a whole lot going on. At 11:30 that night, dispatcher comes on the radio with an emergency call of an unknown trouble. And it wasn't in my area of responsibility, so I didn't really pay attention to it. But the officers in that area were busy at the time. So dispatcher came back on. She said, unknown trouble, found dead body in an apartment with a lot of blood. So it seemed like a violent crime had been committed. And again, for just a brief few seconds, the call went unanswered, and I wasn't doing anything, so I grabbed the radio and I said, I'll head that direction. I had quite a long ways to travel. It's an emergency call, so I am running what we call Code 3, lights and siren. And this picture is taken during the daytime for clarity purposes. But again, the incident that I'm describing to you happened very late at night. This is the intersection of 20th Street and Thomas. State Route 51 overpass, about 5 minutes east of downtown Phoenix. Phoenix Children's Hospital, Arizona Heart Institute, right there on the corner. The blue arrow at the left of the screen is the direction that I was traveling eastbound on Thomas Road. And as I approach the intersection, I have a red light. So even though I'm running code 3, I still have to come to a complete stop to make sure that people getting on and off the freeway will yield to my emergency vehicle. Just as I was going to proceed through the intersection, my patrol car was struck from behind by a taxi cab. The driver was suffering an epileptic seizure at the time, completely out of control. According to the investigation, he was doing 115 miles an hour when he ran into me. That's a speed I can't even fathom what that looks like. It's a 40-mile-an-hour posted downtown city street. I never saw the car coming. I never felt the impact. I have no memory of the actual collision, but I was fortunate enough in time to listen to the police dispatch tapes, the fire department dispatch tapes, personally interview everybody on scene, and really put together the exact sequence of events that took place after the impact. My car burst into flames, traveled 270 feet through the intersection, coming to rest where that orange rectangle is. And just to the right of that, you see a red number 5. That is where Phoenix Fire Engine number 5 is sitting at the moment I was hit. I can't tell you how many miracles and twists of fate went into putting a fire truck in the exact intersection at the exact moment that I needed them most. They were on their way to the same dead body call that I was going to, but for them, the victim was already deceased, so they weren't in a hurry to get there. 3 of them got on the truck, and they waited about 45 seconds. Their rookie firefighter wasn't joining them, so one of them ran back in the station. This young man was still sound asleep in his bunk. He had never heard the alarm. But for those precious few seconds, I'm not standing here sharing this story with you. They were able to turn their truck, drive maybe 50 feet, and go to work for them. Picture the taxi cab did not catch on fire. The driver survived, suffered a severely broken left leg, required surgery and stay in the hospital. He also had a passenger in the backseat of his taxi who was ejected out of the windshield. And at that speed, that violent of a collision, he also survived. The ironic part was when the second responding fire units arrived on scene, they saw a man's body laying about 100 feet away in the intersection. Of course, they rushed to his aid. And the first thing they noticed, he's wearing Sheriff Joe Arpaio's jail outfit. This guy had just got released from jail, and he called a cab to get a ride home. And then they run into a cop. You gotta loosen up, that's kind of funny. Picture of my car after the accident. I want you to really look at the front windshield, the interior of this car. Try to imagine how intense and hot this fire must have been. Firefighters, there's 4 of them on a truck. They all have very important, specific roles to play. The captain's on the radio, giving details, getting more units on scene. The engineer's getting her truck prepped, getting the hoses out. One of the firefighters has to battle the blaze. And the young rookie was given the grim task of getting me out of the car. And as he approached my driver's side window, he said, "Captain, this guy's dead." And he broke my driver's side window with his axe, and I reached out as if to grab the roof of the car. He said it scared the hell out of him. But even unconsciously, you'll do things to try and help yourself. Well, here he is wearing his turnout gear, his gloves. He doesn't have a knife, and I'm sitting trapped in my seatbelt in a burning vehicle. 2 very good friends of mine, 2 police officers. They were about a half mile away from the scene. They heard the impact, they saw the fire, and they got there in about 30 seconds, not having any idea what they were rolling up on. Then they see it's a police car, and I can only imagine the thoughts going through their mind. Who's in there? That's going to be one of my friends. And I don't care what uniform you wear, fight or flight syndrome is very real within all of us. And as they got out of the patrol car, they heard this firefighter screaming, "I need a knife." So one of the officers ran up, he cut my seatbelt, and as he and the firefighter were pulling me out of my driver's side window, my big size 13 boots got stuck underneath the steering wheel and dashboard. And this other police officer wearing just a short sleeve polyester uniform crawled into the cab of that car, into the fire, to help get my legs and feet free. Cops and firefighters have a job to do, but there's really only a select few that will go above and beyond the call of duty, and those guys are definitely a couple of my heroes. They won Officers of the Year 2001 for what they did to me that night. From the time I was hit till the time I was out of the car was 90 seconds. Probably on fire for maybe 55 seconds. And another miracle, I was 2.5 miles away from one of the best burn centers in the country at Maricopa County Medical Center, and I was on their trauma table in less than 8 minutes. I had suffered burns to 43% of my body, my neck, head, and face being the worst. They were 4th degree, which is a term I'd never heard. I thought 3rd degree was the worst burns you could have. 4th degree means right down through the last layers of muscle and to the bone. My shoulders to my hands were 3rd degree, and the tops of my thighs. My chest, my stomach, my back don't have a mark on them because of my bulletproof vest, which I give a lot of credit to saving my life. If my chest didn't burn anything like my arms and face in those first few minutes, I certainly would not have survived. Other than the burns, I had 2 cracked ribs and a mild concussion. The car doesn't catch on fire. I'd have gone home just a few hours after the accident. That's what I look like when I arrived at the hospital. And to put this picture into perspective for me, my best friend, my partner, we just happened to not be riding together that night. And he heard the call of a car accident, car on fire, and he thought we were going to get stuck working traffic control, so he's sending me messages on the computer, trying to reach me on my cell phone. Of course, I'm not answering. Then he finds out it's a police car involved. He knows I'm in the area responding to a call. It does not take Brian long to figure out that it's me. And he happened to intercept the ambulance on its way to County Hospital. And he stood at the back as they pulled me off on the gurney. And from 2 feet away, my best friend looked down and he said, "Thank God, that's not Jason." Didn't recognize him. They took me into the emergency room, started cutting off my uniform, and I had a tattoo on my arm at the time that Brian recognized and identified me with. And then he was faced with his own set of harsh circumstances. There was no time to mourn his own feelings or even worry about me. He knew I was going to pass away pretty quickly. But he's the one who had to go wake my wife up in the middle of the night, completely change her life forever, get my parents out of bed, get everybody gathered as quickly as he could back at the hospital. Other than Brian and the hospital staff, the only person allowed to see me was my priest, was brought in, gave me last rites. And the doctors gathered my family and they said, "Listen, we've never seen burns quite like this to somebody's head and face. There's really no way Jason's going to survive this, but we are going to take him into surgery. We're going to got to get all that dead bacteria-filled tissue off of him, and we're going to place him into a medically induced coma. Just knowing the pain and surgeries he's going to face if he is to survive for a few days, we're going to keep him as quiet as possible." So paperwork is signed, and off I go into surgery. And this is a picture from just hours after the accident. You can see the bloody mess around my head. Draw a circle around my collar and erase everything else. That's what they had to do. My ears, my nose, my eyelids. My entire physical identity that I've known for 28 years is being stripped away minute by minute. Best part of this picture, look at that poor young nurse at the center leaning against the wall. Look at her face. She's like, "Hell no, I ain't getting any closer to that." I know all of you deal in this profession, but I want to warn you that I'm going to show you a couple of very graphic pictures. For burn survivors especially, as you can see, they removed everything. You can take away all the heroic actions of the firefighters and the police officers. You can take away what those doctors did in the emergency room. Being in this condition, there is only one way that I can survive. This is 7 hours after the accident. This person cannot survive without becoming a tissue recipient because of a donor and their family somewhere, because of the work that all of you do in here. Nothing else matters at this point if I hope to live. And that was the night that I became a tissue recipient, and this is a picture of me covered in donor skin. About a week after the accident, see I have a halo in my skull, keeping my open wounds elevated, I have a trachea helping me breathe. But this layer of protection was everything in saving my life. So time's gone by, and I'm continuing to survive, and the doctors finally said, "All right, we're going to wake Jason up, really see what's going on." And they had no good news for my family. They said, "Jason is completely blind, he's probably deaf. If he can't hear you, if he can't speak, he's not going to be very nice." That's what we see all the time, especially with physically disfiguring injuries. So he weaned me out to medicine. It's hard to explain, but I woke up as clear-headed as I am right now. I knew right away I was in the hospital, just the sound and the smells. Why can't I open my eyes? Why can't I move? I was just at work. 1,000 thoughts are flooding into my mind. And thankfully I wasn't alone. It was the middle of the day, and my wife was in the room. And here's somebody who hadn't spoken to me in quite a while. I'll never forget how calm and strong her voice was. And she told me right away that I'd been in a car accident. And I think the first question I asked was it my fault? She said no, so I felt a little better. And I said, "Well, when was it?" "It was 3 hours ago. It was last night. I was just at work." And she said it was on March 26th. And I thought that is a very odd answer to that question. What's today? She said today's June 12th. 2.5 months in the blink of an eye, gone. Missed my wedding anniversary, missed my son's 3rd birthday, and it's impossible to get your mind wrapped around what's going on. And then she told me within a few minutes that my car had caught on fire. And I stopped her and I said, don't say another word to me. Ever since I was a little kid, the only thing that I've ever been scared of is fire. Might sound a little silly, but as a child, as an adult, my family, I've never owned or cooked on a gas barbecue grill. I don't buy real Christmas trees that can dry out at the end of the season and pose a fire danger. I grew up to be a cop, went on a lot of fire calls, saw people who were burned and disfigured. I saw people who died in fires. It's just the one thing that I prayed would never happen. And here without warning, I'm being told it did. I can't see myself knowing it was a car accident. I thought my legs had been burned, but I was still so devastated by this news. But I started down the path of emotions. Not only is it normal for us to go through as human beings, but looking back, it's absolutely required. You cannot find out something life-changing, something you consider tragic or catastrophic, and simply say, okay. It's not possible. We're not made that way. If you have any hope of coming out on the other side, you have to go through a journey of emotions within yourself. And for me, it was, I was crying every day. What are my kids going to think of me? I've lost the job that I love so much. There were days that people even dared walk into my room. They got yelled at and cussed at. There were days they just want to talk. And it went this way for about 3 weeks. So the end of June, I'm laying in bed in the middle of the night when you're completely blind, you're just alone with your thoughts. In the middle of the night, no visitors at that time of day. And I started to really think about how this took place. I don't believe that anything is just instantaneous. This life, no matter what you believe in, one of the most beautiful blessings is we get to live our lives of our own free will, our own free choices. And life is just a huge collision course of all of us making these decisions and choices. And you make hundreds of them every day that you think are inconsequential, but you never know when a decision or a choice is going to have a ripple effect throughout the rest of your life and other people's. It was learned during the investigation that the taxi driver had caused 4 other accidents prior to mine. He lied on 2 of his MVD applications, stating he did not have a medical condition. And the one doctor who knew about his epilepsy and tried to take care of it for 6 years leading up to our accident, he would not medicate. So it's no longer an accident in the eyes of the law. He was arrested and charged with aggravated assault, and he was sitting in jail awaiting trial. But on this night, I knew that he was not out to hurt a police officer. He certainly wasn't out to hurt Jason. He had made a lot of very bad decisions over a long period of time that led him to that intersection. And I believe that I'd made a lot of very good choices over many years of my life that led me to that intersection. And if it wasn't me, he would have made it to 24th Street in Thomas. He could have hit a woman with her kids. He could have hit somebody's grandparents. And they wouldn't have been as lucky as me to have survived. So I thought in some small way, you were doing your job and protecting somebody else who's never going to know it. That, and I also had the realization that no matter what happens to us, we have to have some accountability, both the good and the bad. And it would be really easy for me to walk around and say, you know, why did this happen to me? I was serving my community. I was just minding my own business at an intersection. Those kind of thoughts do no good. They serve no purpose. I'm the one who chose to be a police officer. I chose to answer up for a call that I had no business answering up for. The way the city of Phoenix has laid out our grid system, I could have taken 10 different directions to get to the route that I was going to, but I chose to drive eastbound on Thomas Road, and I chose to be in that high-speed lane. Again, decisions that I never thought would have a lasting effect, but to be accountable for everything that happens to us, it's amazing how strong the foundation can be for that. So after that night was when my attitude really changed. And I asked the doctors, when can I go home? And they said, if everything goes right, you're going to be here till Christmas. We need about 6 more months. So I did everything they wanted me to do, surgery, therapy, you name it. And this picture was taken of me walking out of County Hospital on July 31st. Can you imagine how personally motivating it was to be 6 months ahead of the expert schedule? Now, it's kind of like a little baby. I'm being fed 12,500 calories a day to a stomach tube. Look how skinny I was. I lost 61 pounds in those 4 months. I'm completely blind, lost half my fingers to amputation. I can't talk because of all the surgery and skin grafts. Can't bathe myself, can't eat real food. I mean, just a little baby. I had to go to a rehab center and try to learn how to do all those things. And the nurses and therapists at these rehab centers are just absolutely incredible. And they got me to where I could go home. Only 3 weeks after getting there, August 17th, I finally got home. Getting home was when the mental and emotional adversity really got me. For 5 months, I've been laying in the hospital with all the professionals taking care of me. I've got my friends, other police officers, really the whole community rallied around my family and supporting them. So I could just selfishly lay there and think about myself. Well, all of a sudden, I'm at home. Not the husband I used to be. My wife had to give up her 12-year career in orthodontics to stay home and take care of me all the time. Not the father I used to be. I have a 7-year-old daughter who, she understands the severity of what's going on, but as you can imagine, she's still pretty intimidated. And her younger brother, my son, who turned 3, he would openly cry and run out of any room I was in. He would say, "You're not my dad." And I don't know how many fathers are in this room right now, but let me tell you, there's nothing worse you could ever hear. And of course, I'm not the member of society that I used to be. Came back to work. I haven't seen myself, so I'm not going to go out in public other than sneaking in the side doors of therapy or going to surgery. I was stuck at home. But again, you've got to find something to grab onto. And being at home again, just hearing my kids, something as simple as, I'm a huge baseball fan. Love the Arizona Diamondbacks. In the fall of '01, they were on their journey to winning the World Series, and I would listen to their games, and for 3 minutes I'd get lost and just be a fan. Then all of a sudden it would be an hour that I forgot about what I was going through. It would bridge the gap to the next hour or to the next day. And every time I went to therapy, I got a little bit stronger. Every time I went to a surgery and came home, something got a little bit better. So we really had to learn. It wasn't just one day at a time, it was really 1 hour at a time. But things were moving in the right direction. These are some of the pictures as we went through that journey. Now, the reason I was completely blind at the time, when the doctors removed everything the night of the accident, they saw how damaged my corneas were, and so they covered what was left of my corneas with skin grafts. About 9 months after the accident, they decided to open the skin grafts and take a look at my eyesight. I'll never forget waking up from that surgery. It was kind of like being underwater and looking at the other end of the pool. That's how blurry it was. But just to see the light and colors again was such a blessing that I knew I was going to be okay after that. And most importantly, I could finally get in front of a mirror and see what other people have been seeing. And I had a pretty good picture formed in my mind, so it wasn't too shocking. It was more of a relief just to say, okay, this is what you look like, and now I can figure out what I want to try and put back together. The one thing that drove me crazy, I had no nose and no ears. And I asked several plastic surgeons about it. They said, "Jason, your skin grafts are too thin, the burns are too deep, we can't rebuild those." So in the summer of '02, I'm traveling to and from Fairfax and Nova Hospital in Virginia to see a wonderful plastic surgeon there. And while I'm there, I meet a guy named Robert Barron. Mr. Barron was the senior disguise specialist for the CIA. And he said, "Hey, as a hobby, I like to help people who are disfigured out of my basement. I was introduced to a woman who lost an eye to cancer, and her prosthetic eye was perfect. You couldn't even tell. Had a little boy born without an ear. Mr. Barron made him an ear so he could go to school and not be made fun of. I met a woman who was burned in the Pentagon on 9/11. So on one of the trips, I took my best friend Brian to be the model for these prosthetics, and Mr. Barron made me these ears and nose. And they're perfect, but 2 problems. Number one, they're too perfect. They don't match the rest of the scars that I carry on my head and face. But also, you have to put these on with a prosthetic glue. Well, I live in Phoenix, Arizona. So in July, when it's 110, the glue will break down and your ear falls off. I can tell you, children do not like that. I think I wore them twice, and they've been in my garage ever since. In January of '02, the Olympic torch is on its way through Phoenix to Salt Lake City for the Winter Olympics. I get a call asking me if I'd like to participate in the torch run. And at first I'm pretty nervous because I still can't really see. I'm 6'3", weighed maybe 120 pounds at the time, very sick. Hadn't started the reconstructive surgery and therapy on my deformed hands, so how am I going to do this? But the Olympic torch comes to the United States once every 20 or 30 years. So what an honor. Of course I accept it. And I get down there, and this young girl from the Olympic Committee, she's maybe 19 years old, she comes up and she says, Officer Schechterle, we have a wheelchair for you. We've got a guy who's going to carry the torch for you, carry it for 400 yards. And I said, I don't know how this is going to go, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so I'd really like to carry the torch myself and at least walk down the street. And as sweet as she could, she looked at me and she said, okay, but when you're carrying the torch, make sure you don't get the flame too close to your face. And I said, no shit. I'm the one guy who doesn't need those instructions. I do not need to be told that. I got it. It turned out to be just a magical evening. I passed the flame on to Kurt Schilling. He was our MVP pitcher of the World Series just 2 months before that. Got to listen to my family and friends cheering me on, jog down the road, and just a great memory that the torch hanging on my wall. This picture was also in June of '02. The Arizona Diamondbacks are without a doubt the most charitable organization in Arizona, especially when it comes to first responders. It's amazing what they do for police and firefighters when they're injured or killed in the line of duty. And during one of their games, they were going to have a benefit raffle to raise some money for my family, and they asked me to throw out the first pitch. Well, this is all my right hand does. I can't open it, I can't close it. 2 weeks prior to this, I had my right index finger voluntarily amputated. I still recovered from that. But again, how often do you get to throw out the first pitch in a Major League game? And it was neat to see things come full circle. My daughter had thrown out the first pitch the year before when I was in my coma. So I'm going to take my grandfather down there. He's from a real small town in Alabama. Never seen anything quite like being on a Major League Baseball field. And as I'm walking out of the suite, my friends pulled me to the side and they said, listen, Jason, don't throw this underhanded. It better not hit the dirt. Don't embarrass us. So I get down there and Kurt Schilling comes up to me and says, hey, I'm going to catch this for you. Another huge honor. Future Hall of Famers don't catch ceremonial first pitches. And I don't know the rituals before games. I said, can I stand on the mound? And he said, most people stand on the flat part right in front, get a little closer, but if you want to, you can stand on the mound. He said, but don't short hop me because I'm not wearing a cup today. So I had tunnel vision like I've never had. There's 40,000 people in the stands and I didn't hear a sound. I'm just praying, God, please throw this ball all the way to the glove. And I threw it as hard as I could. It did reach his glove. He ran out and he hugged. And even more than the torch run, I was really on cloud nine. To go back to the suite to see my doctors and therapists' faces. Throwing the ball 60 feet, 6 inches at the time was a really big deal. And first people I saw were my friends. They said, that was 3 feet outside. You suck. It's a lot of fun to share those stories. As you can imagine, at the time they were very inspirational and an honor to get to do them. But it's also very humbling to know that I only got to do those things because of the uniform that I was wearing and the job that I was doing. And while I greatly appreciate and respect that communities will rally around their first responders, as I mentioned earlier, when I was home at night and I was alone with my thoughts, do you think I cared anything about carrying the torch, going to baseball? Didn't matter at all. What I cared about was my family and my career. And those are the two things that I went back to work on. We had a daughter and a son and we were great. But you go through something like this and it definitely makes you think, so we decided to try and expand our family and bring another life into this world. And we were blessed with October 29th, 2002, Mason Bryant was born. And again, much more than a picture of a baby. This really speaks volumes to the strength that my wife has and how she overcame her part of the adversity. And also, just to get him home from the hospital, to see that he has a life and hopefully he's going to grow up and make a positive impact on society. It makes all the pain and suffering I've ever gone through completely worth it. Of course, they turned into this. Outside of Mason being born, easily the best day of my life was November 12th, 2002. 2 weeks after he was born, 18 months after the accident, I got into a truck by myself and I drove back to work. Started out as a public information officer and I had become detective certified prior to my accident. Going back to the academy, the guys would daydream about, I'm going to be a SWAT officer, I'm going to be a K-9 officer, so I want to be the chief of police someday. The only thing that I ever wanted to do was to be a homicide detective. I used to think to speak for victims who can't speak for themselves, to bring closure to families that are affected by that kind of violence and tragedy would be a real honor. And I was invited to join the Phoenix Police Homicide Unit about a year after returning. And it wasn't just, it's an amazing job. I worked my way up to where I was a team investigator, which is exactly what it sounds like. I'm responsible for the marking, collecting, photographing of evidence. You make sure that the victims' bodies are respectfully taken care of until they go to the MD's office. You attend the autopsies and eventually testify in court. And surgeries were coming to an end. I was getting stronger and just loved being productive again. I got down to 2 issues. Number one was my gun. I get dressed every day. I put a badge on. I'd like to carry my gun. And I was going down to the academy 3 or 4 days a week. I'm working with the SWAT team. I'm modifying guns. I'm changing guns. And I got to where I could load and unload a small 38 revolver, and I could shoot and hit the target every time. With these hands on this size, I was so proud of that. But I couldn't do it in the time that's required by the state board that certifies peace officers. And there's some very good reasons why those time requirements are in place. So reality started to set in that I wasn't going to be able to get off what we call light duty and do the career the way that I wanted to. And the other thing was my eyesight. Doctors had taken me from 100% darkness to where I'm driving to and from work, I'm reading and writing reports on a computer, I'm investigating detailed murder scenes, and I was really taking that blessed second chance for granted with the hours that I was keeping. So I knew that it wasn't going to last as long as I wanted to, and it was a very difficult decision, but I finally decided to walk away from that career, and I retired in August of 2006. I mentioned to you earlier that I was pretty good at golf when I graduated high school, got a college scholarship. Even at the time of my accident, I was still playing once a week with my dad, my best friend. And I was a 2 handicap. I could still play pretty good. This is the one thing that I threw overboard. The one thing that I said, of all the stuff that you need to put back together, you are never going to hold on to one of those skinny little gloves and see a ball flying through the blue sky, so let's not even worry about that. Around the time I retired, I was able to start working again with Ping, one of the larger golf manufacturers. They're based in Phoenix. I was able to start practicing and start figuring things out on how to do it again. And look, I don't care if you're talking about overcoming catastrophic 4th-degree burns, or if you're talking about something as silly and simple as a game of golf. There is nothing as powerful as a made-up mind. If you believe you can do something, if you work toward doing it, I promise you, you'll get it done. I'm so proud to be able to tell you I got my handicap back down to a 1. I could play golf better after the accident than I could before. And to be back out there with my dad, making those memories again was just absolutely amazing. Picture of my wife and I, probably my favorite picture ever for Christmas before the accident. I still to this day don't truly know what she went through, especially the 2.5 months I was in a coma, but there was never a doubt that she wanted me home and was going to take care of me, and what an awesome job she did as a mom. And I'm so proud of her today, giving up her portion of life and really dedicating it to us. About 6 years ago, she found her new calling, went back to school and got a teaching degree, and she's currently the 4th grade teacher at the elementary school that our kids attended, and paying it forward to the next generations, and just absolutely could not be happier. These are my kids today. Some of you in the room might recognize that beautiful center picture. It was taken on the 50-yard line, just a few miles down the road at Texas Christian University. My daughter, there's nothing more beautiful in life than seeing somebody take their adversity and spin it 180 degrees and project something beautiful out onto this world. And for all that she went through when she was just 7 years old, for all the suffering that she's seen her younger brother go through, how he grew up with a lot of anxiety and eating disorder, and we don't know if it's related to my accident, but he's had his share of adversity, and she really dedicated herself to her studies and just being a good person. Was rewarded with an incredible scholarship to TCU, where just absolutely fell in love with Fort Worth at TCU. She graduated in 2016, and now she's in a medical program at Baylor University doing developmental child psychology so that she can come home someday and help kids who are affected by trauma the way her and her brother were. And I just think it's absolutely amazing how she's brought that full circle. My son Zane is now 19 years old, a sophomore at Northern Arizona University. Absolutely the most beautiful soul God ever put on this earth. That kid loves everybody and everything about life. He is a humble, kind person. I could not be more proud of him. He's doing hotel restaurant management. And Mason is now 15. He's a freshman in high school, and as you can tell by the picture, all he cares about is baseball, and he's having an incredible life. And it cannot be understated. I can't even pretend to find the words to express. It's one thing to say, I was a tissue recipient and I was helped through a surgery, or my life was prolonged for a few days. That's not the case. You can see how healthy and incredibly happy I am today, but take a look at that picture. That is an entire life that shouldn't even exist. And it exists because of what all of you do. Think about that for a second. He's going to grow up. How many kids is he going to have? How many kids are they going to have? The ripple effect has no logical end. Because somebody like you answered the phone. Somebody like you talked to a donor family. A doctor went and harvested that tissue. Somebody packaged it properly and sent it to County Hospital. Somehow it ended up giving me what I have today. My appreciation and respect for what all of you do is just, it's on a scale I really can't even put into words. So thank you very, very much. Life truly is 10% what happens to us, and it's 90% how we react to it. Not a lot of things you're in charge of. Not a lot of things you can control. But you do get to control your attitude. Every single day, every situation you face, every person you deal with, you get to choose how you're going to feel and react. And you are not always going to win these battles. You are not always going to be the best version of yourself. I just got through telling you 20 minutes ago that I cried every day, that I yelled and cussed at people who were there to love and support me. You cannot always be who you want to be. And the way we are made, a lot of us want to fight the fact that we are created to experience a crazy range of emotions. And we don't get to handpick the fact that we just want to feel love and laughter and inspiration. You have to accept the negatives. You're going to cry. You're going to be angry. You're going to be anxious and scared. But that just means you're alive. You have to embrace those feelings. Every day you get a chance to be a better version of who you were yesterday and to learn from the experiences. Stop hating and regretting your setbacks and start embracing and loving the comeback. Because the comeback is always so much better. So no matter what any of you are facing in here, how you deal with other people's adversity, what all of you are going through, no matter what else I've told you today, please remember, don't let the pain of today blind you from the promise of tomorrow. As you are well aware, life is short, and it can come to a sudden, tragic end at any moment. So while you're here, everything that you've faced up till today that has tried to take you out, we're all sitting here. We're all together. We have won those battles. Do not ever give up on life. It's just way too precious. My story is in a book titled Burning Shield that's available on Amazon. It took me 8 years and 3 authors to get this story right, so I'm very proud of it, and I think you would enjoy reading it. I know we have time, I think, for some question and answer, but again, before I leave and head back home this afternoon, I really want you to understand that I leave this stage feeling more inspired than ever before. I can't wait to get back home and see my kids. I can't wait to tell them what I've done. I can't wait to send out a message again about being a donor and the importance of it. Thank you so much for what all of you do. I know it's tough. I could never sit in those chairs. I could never do what you do with your time and in your careers. So I hope you have seen the difference you make, because I am the luckiest and the happiest man on this earth, and it's because of people like you. So God bless all of you.